So I just filmed for probably the last half hour explaining why my hair looks like this. And like, I know this isn't the best look to record this video, but if I don't record it now, I don't think I will record it or have time to record it in a timely manner. So I'm gonna redo this whole thing. The last half hour, just, yep. Anyway, so any of you that has watched this video, like watched and subscribed for a while, which I am super grateful for, like every time I see a new subscriber, it makes me like super happy and super grateful. And I'm just like, I don't want to ask people to subscribe, because clearly if you like the content, if you find any of this valuable, or if you like just listening to someone in the background talking or doing like basic things, I feel like my life is quite normal. And then I'll bring up this next thing, which might make it less normal. So it's like, it's easy to kind of listen to. But anyway, sorry, got distracted. I'm watching Taro and he's like falling asleep, and he flopped twice. And I wasn't able to catch either of those on camera. And the second time he flopped onto his back and was like wiping his face and playing with his paws. It was so cute. I was so upset that I didn't catch it on camera. And our security camera was pointed at like all of here so we could watch him at the moment, and it didn't catch it either. So I'm like staring at him to see if I could catch it on camera. Sorry, got distracted. Any of you who has been here for a while know that I'm originally from New York. I moved to Pennsylvania about 8 months ago. Almost 9 months ago. So in the beginning of the year, I moved here. A new start to everything. With moving here, since moving here, I have had time to slow my life down, to think, to heal, and then now finally to plan, right? In New York, I started working when I was 15 years old, all the way until I was 29. I didn't think, I just worked. Whatever job was available, whatever promotion was available, I took, right? I didn't really make a plan of my career, nor did I think about what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be. I just kept going. I had ambition too. Like originally I wanted to climb like a corporate ladder, but in the last few years I kind of gotten a chance to rethink my life. And coming to Pennsylvania was a great step for me. It allowed me to have my own space where I could think and I could piece things together without really anyone interrupting that process. And I love my parents, I love my little brother, but I think I realized something too is the people around me really enjoyed being taken care of, and I'm really good at taking care of people. But if you're really good at taking care of people and family, you should take care of family, but it should be reciprocal too. But if you do all the taking care of, people will get used to it. And then if people get used to it, then it becomes an imbalanced kind of relationship. I'm not saying all people do. I'm not saying that's how the relationship goes all the time. I'm just saying that sometimes that happens, right? I will say, I think my relationship with both my parents and my brother has gotten a lot better in the last, no flop? Okay. In the last few months. I actually had I had an argument with my mom like a few months ago, and basically I asked her, I was like, can every time that you call me not be for me to do something for you, but like just to check in on me, like how's life, how's the bunny, you know? Even if you don't care, just like ask it so that, you know, I feel like you care about some aspect of me instead of being a secretary to you. And she provided me with her perspective of, if I ask you about things that I'm curious of, you will feel pressure. And there's only two things she's curious of. Have you gotten a higher paying job or a more permanent job there? And have you found someone? And so she's like, I can't ask you the things I'm actually curious about because you might say that, oh, I'm giving you pressure and whatnot. I was like, that's fair, but can we just talk about something not related to any of those things? Let's talk about something fun. Like, what did you do new this week? Or what did you see some like funny video on YouTube or anything like that, right? And I will say she took this feedback a lot better than she had taken other feedback in the past. And I do think distance contributes a little bit to it. And she has started checking in with me other than, you know, asking me to do things, which I'm very grateful for. We talk about other things, and, you know, if she asks me a question or whatnot, I do help her with it. But at least now it feels like, oh, this is my mom. This is not like my task giver. This feels like mom is asking about how things are going. And our most recent phone call was probably my favorite phone call I've had with her, maybe ever, actually. Because we were talking about me moving to the West Coast. And I don't mean LA. I mean like somewhere along the Northwest coast, right? I want to move again. It's weird. For 30 years, I lived in New York and like with my family and parents and never like once having the temptation to move. But I moved out once and I want to move again, and it hasn't even been a year yet. It's been great living with one of my closest friends. We obviously get into fights too. We're two different people that are trying to like adjust our living styles to each other, and we are on kind of like different places in our lives also. But it's been so much fun having someone to go out to eat with, like just in the same house. You don't have to piece your schedules together. It's like, if I don't feel like cooking today, we could be like, all right, you want to grab something to eat? And I usually do cook. Like, I cook at least 3 or 4 times a week, so we're not constantly eating out. But like, there are times where we're like, do you want to go out to eat? Sure. You know, what are we eating? And it's like a fun discussion, and we go out. We've also gone to like many places surrounding like the area that we live in. We went to Baltimore. We went to like Lancaster, which is still in Pennsylvania, but like far, like further from where we live. So, you know, it required a toll, which for me means far. At least by my current standards at this time. Anyway, so yeah, we went out to eat, and then we went out to explore. We took Taro to a park. You know, all those things were like so much fun. It often feels like a long sleepover that doesn't have to end, and it's the best. It's one of the best things ever because it's so much fun. With that being said, she has her career here. She has her life established here. And for a few months, I accidentally got lulled into that 60%, I think, satisfaction with my life, where things weren't bad. I'm easily paying rent. I'm able to like pay for daily things. You know, I have a bunny, and like I'm living with a really close friend. We have adventures. Yes, we have arguments, but it is what it is. It's not that bad. And I'm working part-time at the restaurant. So I have like multiple days off where I could like really take care of the house. And I realize how much I love taking care of the place that I live in. You know, I used to hate cleaning. Like years ago, I would clean. This is gonna sound really bad. For a few years there, I cleaned my room, and I realized this is not the best version of me to be making this video right now. But I used to, like, years ago, because of the burnout and because of everything, I cleaned my room like once a year. Like, deep clean. Obviously, like, I cleaned it up here and there throughout the year, but like deep cleaned it once a year before Lunar New Year's. Because you're supposed to go into the New Year's with a clean start. It'll ensure like a clean slate for the new year. yeah, and I like cleaned the bathroom like once a year as well back then. And I just found it so taxing, and like I didn't get the point of it. I knew where everything was anyway, so like why did I have to clean everything, you know? It was organized for me. And like I usually like I ended up anyway, so back then I didn't eat in my room, which is a really important part of this conversation, because if I didn't eat in my room, I really didn't make any messes, and I didn't keep food in my room back then. Within the last like 2-3 years of living at home, I did started bringing food occasionally to my room, but at that point I cleaned my room a lot more frequently, so that I made sure nothing that wasn't supposed to be there wasn't there. But yeah, like a few years ago, my mom would have been shocked by my current daily routine when I'm not at work. Like a few ways that I've healed are, I don't feel like I only need to doom scroll and, you know, lay down completely still on my days off anymore. I used to feel like the only way that I got rest was by laying down. And honestly, that was not good for me back then, because it probably screwed up something along my back and neck area from laying down all the time. Also the loss of muscle, because I was laying down all the time. But that's what I needed back then. I needed peace and I needed quiet. I just needed the lack of like, I forgot the word for it. Shoot, drew a blank. Just like the lack of noise. It's right there. Anyway, it's over. Oh, stimulation. There we go. Like I needed a lack of like stimulation to all my senses, which is weird because I was scrolling on my phone, so I don't know how that worked. Anyway, so I guess because I chose that type of entertainment. Anyway, but yeah, and to anyone who is in that state of being right now, I get you. I understand. Like I did forget about it for a while until recently. I had an argument with my best friend, and then she kind of had to remind me of like the fact that I've been through that phase, and that, you know, anyway, long story short was I do like that time happened and I needed to do what I did during that time. But now, like yesterday, I had like stretch lab in the morning, which is like a 15-minute stretch session that I booked for myself as an investment to me in the future, because I realized recently that when I sit for a long time in a cross-legged position and I stand up, I need to stutter for a second. And that scares me, because I'm like, I'm 31. I am not at the age where I should need to buffer for a second after standing up. Like, that should not be happening yet. So I looked around. I was like, I started doing a little bit of yoga at home, and then I realized that Stretch Labs was there, and we looked into it before because it was right next to Hand and Stone, where we go to get like a monthly facial or massage, which is also investing into ourselves and learning not to feel guilty about that. It's self-maintenance. It is needed for mental health as well, and upkeep, and it's one way of us investing time into ourselves, right? So I looked it up before, and I decided to go for an intro session yesterday, and it was amazing. I had a flexologist named Amanda. Their flexologists, or the people who help you stretch, are my gosh, so cute. He's flopped. He's flopped. Finally, I got it on camera. Third time's the charm, Daryl. Third time's the charm. Sorry. genuinely think he likes it when I like film, because he gets the most comfortable when I talk for a long period of time. He usually flops. Um, so maybe I just need to just start recording more often. Anyway, I had a flexologist named Amanda. Their flexologists have different types of background. Amanda used to be a yoga instructor. They have people who are physical therapists. They have people who are personal trainers as their backgrounds. Just people who have studied the human body and know how to help you stretch. Amanda was great. They also have this machine which it could tell you, like, you know, tensions or asymmetry in your body based on how you move. And she also let me know that I wasn't getting less flexible, which was something that I worried about. Did the sun go away? Why is suddenly my phone dark? Hold on. Anyway, it is what it is. Anyway, she let me know that I wasn't losing my flexibility, which was something I was concerned about, because I was like, you know, it was one of my pride points for myself, is that I was rather flexible. Like I'm still able to do a full like bend forward and touch my toes, you know, kind of situation. But yeah, so she said I'm not flexible and I'm not losing that. I just have a lot of tightness and kind of like, what was the other word she used? Anyway, there was a bit of asymmetry in my left leg, bit of tightness in my right leg, and she said that, like, you know, with constant visits we can fix that. And so it is something I'm planning on investing further for myself in the future, because I don't want to wait till my body is not working, or not working like the way that I want to go. It's already showing signs of that. So how can I do prevention? Because prevention is a lot cheaper and a lot easier than fixing the problem afterwards. So I want to be able to be flexible and be able to use my body for a long period of time. So in order to do that, I invested in Stretch Labs yesterday. And then after Stretch Labs, I went to like 5 or 6 other places. I went to Trader Joe's, PetSmart, Home Goods, Asian Supermarket, and Radish and Rye, and like, I think that's all. Maybe there was one more place I'm forgetting. Anyway, just to do a bunch of errands. I came home, I cleaned Taro's tent because he made a mess with his hay. I cleaned his litter box, I refreshed his hay, refilled his water, I cooked dinner, I made lunch for myself, and like, we had kimchi jjigae for dinner, which is the shorts video that I posted. And then we had, I made chicken bone broth, rice. So rice made with chicken bone broth, which is for more health benefits for both of us. Not me and Taro, me and my friend. Because I'm trying to incorporate more healthy elements that both of us need, that is good for both of us, into our meals. So I did all of that before 4:43. I remember, because I asked ChatGPT, have I done enough today? Because I still felt energized, which is probably contributed to the Stretch Lab thing. But I felt energized after I ate. I was just like, I feel like I could do more for my self-development, you know, and for my future. And ChatGPT was just like, you did enough. You had a productive day so far today already, and had to remind me that if I don't slow down, that I might burn out before I reach the place I want to reach, which is very realistic. And you know, so I took it easy for the second half of yesterday. But yeah, like, since coming here, I have been able to have energy to do things that I want to do, think about my future, plan financially, which was one of my biggest blocks, was financial stuff. I was never good. Like, I didn't think I was the type of person that could plan financially, you know. I didn't grow up with super money literate parents, and schools didn't really do much to teach us about money literacy either. So I mean, I blame the other people, but I just let that stop me, and I decided that's not going to be me anymore, because the perfect version of me, or like the best version of me that I want to become, knows how to handle her money. Because I hope to be able to make a lot of money, and as a result, I hope to be able to manage all of that money. Oh, suddenly we're bright again because the sun decided to come out. Anyway, so yeah, so you know, money literacy is something that I was super hesitant to look into before. I always thought it was like this huge cloud hanging over my head, but now I have myself financially planned September and October already, even though I know things can come up, and I know that like my financial situation isn't perfect right now, but I do, and it's dark again. Okay. And I do have like services that like free services that I want to reach out to kind of like consult about my financial standing. I live a pretty normal life. I want to think, you know, okay, normal, maybe not really for my age, but like I don't do much. I don't make an insane amount of money, you know. I make enough for rent right now and for like daily expenses. And so like I feel like sharing this as just like I think Yoongi and Namjoon from BTS, so Suga and RM were talking about this, I think in a Shuchita episode, or someone was talking about it, and it was along the lines of like a lot of people that you see in media, I think it was them, that a lot of people that you see in media are people on the extremes, right? That seem special and that have something to say. Oddly enough, this shirt came into use. It's like but there's so much less of the extreme sides, right? And there's a lot of gray area of people, right? That are just normal people going about their day, living their lives, going to their jobs, making money, coming home, making dinner, taking care of the house, that you don't see as much voices online. And I thought I'd share, I guess, my path as one of the people in the gray, you know? Because I feel like if we don't see that out there, there might be a misconception that these people don't exist. And if you live that kind of life, you're not doing it enough, or something along those lines. So I want to show that, like, this is my growth path. Now, the video today is to say that I plan on moving again. Because I do believe Pennsylvania was very crucial for this part of my journey. It was my first time moving away from home. Not only did I move away from home, I moved away from home state. So I was very lucky that my friend let me move in with her, and then we both moved to this apartment, and that we could afford this apartment, and it's as big as it is, like, and that we got Taro, and then Taro has a whole living room to run around in. And I'm grateful for all of that. I'm so grateful for all the YouTube algorithms that was pushed my way here in terms of, like, you know, manifestation and self-actualization, and just a lot of really positive people, not in the sense of like forced positive kind of thing, but in a sense of they worked on themselves and they got themselves to a better place. So they are sharing their knowledge now to other people to try to like have more people get to a better place. I keep looking at Taro because he's so cute. But yeah, so I've watched a lot of those things, and it's helped me so much in my life that I'm able to do things now that I would not have. Like, my life looks so different now than it did like even 2 years ago, even a year ago to 2 years ago. I swear the sun is just playing games with me. But my life looks so different now than it did look not too long ago, and I didn't think it was possible, and it was baby steps. Yes, moving seems like a big step, but like everything that led me to moving were small steps, and like everything that happened after moving was also small steps. I made it, like, I wanted to explore Harrisburg. I wanted to look at the surrounding areas and find new cafes. Like, everything that I wanted to do, I wanted to live life for once and not just be pushed along by the current of life, right? I want to be able to say, I thought about this. I did things that made me happier. I did things that, brought me joy. And like a huge part of that was contributed to the fact that on my visit here with my best friend, I went to go visit a historical mansion, from not too far away from here. And the drive was stunning, and I had so much fun visiting that mansion that I was just like, oh, I could do this more while I'm here. Like, I want to explore the city I'm in and the surrounding areas. Hence why we've gone to Baltimore and like Lancaster, which is also in Pennsylvania, but like it required a toll, so I'm counting it. So like we've been to surrounding places. We've been all over Harrisburg. We've been to like all over Mechanicsburg, Camp Hill, like all the surrounding areas we've been to, and we've ate at most of the restaurants there, like a good portion of them that we wanted to visit, and it's been super fun. However, Harrisburg was very necessary for me when like in the beginning of the year. Like where I was at, I was too burnt out. I was emotionally exhausted, and I needed something to slow down, right? A year before I moved, I was actually helping take care of my grandma with Alzheimer's and dementia, and she was, that last year was quite, I'm quite grateful for it, because she had Alzheimer's and dementia for like a decade, and it's all due to my aunt's great care of her as her primary caregiver, that she was able to hold out for this long and be as healthy as she was for a long time. But the last year, it just so happened that when I decided that I need a break from just working and not thinking about what I did, and I quit that job, also because I was pushed 3 jobs, and I had a conversation with HR. HR didn't know about the turnover rate, and also like did nothing to fix the situation, even though they were aware of the situation, offered no compensation for one person doing 3 jobs. Anyway, I digress. I left the job. I'm very grateful that I did, and I'm grateful for the universe putting me in that place so that I was able to use that whole year to take care of my grandma in the last phase of her life, in the last phase of Alzheimer's and dementia. My aunt and uncle are still in their, my aunt is still in her 70s. My uncle's in his 80s, if I'm not mistaken. And it was getting difficult to like lift grandma, on and off the bed every day, because she at that point had become more or less immobile. She was not very cognizant either throughout the day. I'm sorry if this is triggering to anyone with family members that experience this. I totally understand if you want to click away, and I apologize for not putting a disclaimer on earlier. But yeah, she wasn't fully cognizant at this point, and she wasn't eating as much as she used to. My aunt used to make her these crazy nutritious like protein shakes, but she wasn't even really swallowing like the shake at a certain point. And so we thought of all sorts of methods of feeding her. We even did a syringe, like slow drip syringe to her mouth so that it could slowly drip down. And because she wasn't intaking fluids enough, or like she wasn't intaking food enough, we had started bringing her to a medical establishment which gives IV injections of like protein, of nutrients, of things that for people who needed the extra boost but could not get it through food and supplements normally, like the I guess the edible way. So we had started taking her there. I know, I'm sorry about the tangent, but I'll explain the reason of it. And then, so for a good few months, my cousins and I would, for a few times a week, would go to my aunt's house, lift grandma up from the bed onto her wheelchair, lift the wheelchair to the minivan that or like whichever car we were taking her in, and then lift her from her wheelchair into the car, put her wheelchair away, make sure she was tucked and strapped in properly. One of us had her leaning on us at like all times, and it was usually one of my elder cousins. And then after we got to the establishment, because there was no parking really around, we would just park on the side of the street, like standing, and then put the blinkers on, take the wheelchair, lift grandma off the car onto the wheelchair, bring her up to the medical establishment place, and then lift her from her wheelchair onto their chair and do the whole thing again to come home. Not complaining. I'm grateful I was able to put that work in. Like, I get emotional thinking about it. I think grandma gave me one more chance because it was for her, but she wasn't cognizant at this point anymore, or not that we could see, but it gave us the chance to do something for her, and she had raised us, and she was our rock, and she protected me from, I say protected, like protected is a strong word, but like she shielded me from my parents when, you know, they got too upset about how I was doing at school, and she would yell at them and be like, you can't treat her like that. If you think, like, what do you think, like, waking her up in the middle of the night, just yell at her is gonna help her at school? Like, you know, she would protect me, and she would never judge me, and she would always love me in her strict grandma way. So I'm grateful because I feel like grandma held out that year so that we could do everything we could for her. We could try everything that we could for her. Sorry. So we did that, and then soon that wasn't enough to sustain her anymore. So we had the decision of, like, you know, giving her a pep tube, or, you know, just letting her wither away. And like, she still seemed like she wasn't fully cognizant, but like she was still like awake at times, you know. She would still react to music if we played music for her, and then, you know, all her other organs were working just fine. And like, as a family, we decided, you know, we'll take the risk with the pep tube. And grandma was a fighter, and she did amazing with that surgery. And, you know, the thing with insurance is sometimes it's really annoying, but in the beginning, her insurance didn't cover us, like, the automated pep system. If you don't know, it's like, what the pep tube is, it's a tube straight through to your intestine or your stomach, so that nutrients get, like liquid nutrients would get pumped into your stomach, I guess, and then it still goes through digestion and things like that, so your body can break it down and absorb it, right? It's just that it doesn't have to go through the mouth portion and esophagus portion of digestion, because we were worried that her swallowing wasn't working, and if her swallowing isn't working, she could choke on, like, liquids, essentially. So but the pep machine, usually, like, at the hospitals, there's this automated version of it, right? So it has the rate of how, like, the speed of which this liquid should be, I guess, injected into your system. And you could change the rate, and you could change the amount, you know, and things like that. But in the beginning, insurance didn't approve it. So, you know, I sat there manually with this giant, like, syringe-like thing connected to the pep tube, and I was scared. I was scared to give her too much, because the documentation that they discharged us with didn't say how fast or, like, at what rate we should be pumping it manually. It just said the rate to set the machine at, which insurance never approved. So I just sat there and pumped, like, 2 ml every, like, or like 10 ml every, like, 2 minutes of, like, food into the tube for her. And Like, my aunt was scared to do it, and I understand. Like, I was scared to do it too, but like someone had to feed grandma, you know. So, like, there's no point of the surgery if we don't actually get the food to her, you know. So I would go. Thankfully, we only live 4 houses down, so I would go over every single day, multiple times a day, to make sure grandma got all the fluids that she needed. And then thankfully, they finally done approved giving us the automated one. And so, oh, also we had to give her medication through there too. So you would grind up medication, and then you would melt it down with water, and then there was a separate opening to the tube that you would slowly inject that into, and then you had to flush the tube as well, before and after food and before and after medication, to make sure nothing got clogged, because that would be very dangerous. If it got clogged, then that means that she would have to redo the surgery, and we don't need to be putting grandma, who was 95 years old and has Alzheimer's and dementia, through another surgery. So we were very careful. It was very nerve-wracking. And then thankfully the automated system came in and we didn't have to do that. And then later on, grandma had infections, which then they gave antibiotics that we had to administer through a shot in her arm, I think. And then we had to be very careful of how to inject that. It wasn't a needle. We weren't injecting her with any needles. It was like she was back and forth in the hospital at this point, and we would actually take shifts staying with grandma too. Like at least twice a day. Someone had the morning shift, someone had the night shift, and we would give grandma a facial. We would either wash her hair with like the hospital washing shampoo caps things, or like just brush her hair through. We would give her a facial, and we would like give her a small massage on her arms, and then clean her chest and arm areas as well. My aunt did even more amazing. She got used to cleaning grandma. Like, she did so well. The hospital even were stunned by how well she took care of grandma and how clean she kept grandma. Like, grandma had no old people smell, you know, even though she was not fully functioning, taking care of herself. Anyway, so yeah, a lot, like, we ended up, so I learned how to, like, when she left the hospital, she had like almost a needle already inserted with like this tube thing that you would like, you had to be super careful that you disinfected the opening of the medication that you were gonna plug into this tube in, because you didn't need any infections getting into her, because that was going to go directly into her bloodstream. So you had to be very careful. No air, no like nothing dirty. So we were super careful with disinfecting, like keeping everything super clean. And then finally grandma fought the infection, and you know, she was good for a while. And then her diabetes kind of kicked in, because the drink that they had her on was quite high in sugars. So I learned how to give her insulin shots. We all did. So it was a whole year of intensive care for grandma. And I am super grateful for that year. Like, it was not an easy journey, but I was grateful that grandma gave me the chance to do something for her. Because for the first few years, like, and I kind of hated myself for it, because for the first few years, when grandma was losing her memories, it felt like we were losing grandma. And that was the point that, like, a lot of us grieved or pulled away, because it felt like this isn't the grandma that we know anymore, you know? At first it wasn't crazy, but like when it got to the point where she didn't know who we were, it was just like, grandma's not here anymore, but grandma's physically here. So, you know, and also we were like, that was the point in my career where my career started taking off. So I kind of hate myself for not visiting more during that time. I'm sure she could have used the company more, and like during that time, and I'm incredibly apologetic to her for that. but she gave me a chance to take care of her when she had no way of taking care of herself. And I am forever grateful to Grandma for letting me do that, because it left me with less regrets too. And then she seemed stable, and then I moved here in January and she was still stable. And in February, I think at the end of January, I'm like, I don't remember the dates now, which is really bad, but like I'm trying to, like, I also tried not to actively remember the dates, but at the end of January, I think, like I know I could look back, but I don't want to. She passed. So she went peacefully, and it wasn't shock, it wasn't anything. When the she passed at home too, so when the doctors came to check on her, they said they think her heart just stopped working, and it was already on, like, by that point a lot of her other organs were also a lot more strained than they were. Like, her body gave it its best. But she passed peacefully in the company of the people, like, of my aunt and uncle. And she just looked like she went to sleep. And I'm very grateful to her, and, you know, for the chance to take care of her. Sorry this video is turning out to be so long. I actually didn't expect to go down this route. I was gonna film this video as a shorter version of the previous video, but this is just going on longer. Anyway, that was a long-winded way of me saying that I needed time to grieve. I needed time to heal. I needed time to process all of these things. And those first few months were very needed. So come June, I had processed a lot of these things already, and, you know, even though I'm still healing, like, I think I've worked on myself enough where now I'm kind of at the point where I don't want to go back to New York. New York is still too busy for me. And then I don't think Harrisburg is for me for the future either, because it's a little too calm and too quiet for me. So I want to find somewhere in the middle, or it's not as busy as New York, and it's not as quiet and slow as Harrisburg. I feel like I'm ready to do more, right? So that's why I'm moving. And I was going to record my process of, you know, with this whole kind of decision of moving, which just happened this past week. And then actually moving there. And I will try to keep you updated. I'm sure the future videos in regards to this topic most likely will be shorter. I don't think they will be quite as long as this video is. But yeah, I just wanted to update people. But yeah, all of that was just sorry, I just got a phone call. All of that was just to update people, letting you guys know, like, that I'm planning to move next year. Probably bring you along the process of what that looks like. Step 1 is to save up enough money for first month's rent there, last month's rent there, and emergency funds. It'd be even better if I could save up a emergency, like the security deposit. But I don't have an idea of where, like, which apartment building I'm moving into. I have looked up the prices around that area, and for any area that is slightly busy, it's gonna be more expensive. So the price there is roughly gonna be around at least $2,000 for a decent apartment, which is so much more money than I'm paying now. So so step 1 is saving money. Step 2 is applying to jobs, which I have started doing. I've applied to quite a few jobs there already, in anticipation for the move, because I would feel a lot more safe if I have a job there already that hopefully I could start remotely first and then transition into hybrid there. If not, like, you know, we'll work things out there later on. But that would make me feel a lot better because that means that I would have a steady income. So I don't have to just rely on money that I saved, because there's no guarantee, especially with the job market nowadays, that I would make enough money to sustain rent. So it's better for me to get a job first, and based on the job and the income of that job, to pick an apartment that would fit that, if that makes sense. I'm sure this is common sense for a lot of people, but like for anyone who's moving for the first time, or like who needs to sort this out, you know, it's generally, for me, this is my thought process, right? So I'll save up enough, hopefully, and also have a job already decided before I move there, so that I could get everything kind of financially sorted. And then it will be the difficult process of moving everything. And it'll be quite difficult because I have a tarot now. And tarot has a lot of stuff, including this tent that I would have to take apart and reassemble later on. So there's a lot of things that needs to happen between now and when I move. There's a few considerations as well. I would love for YouTube to be able to take off, you know, before then. But again, that is not completely up to me. So that would be the best, obviously the most ideal situation for Taro and I. I've tried this last month, posting every single day, and I have succeeded. And I'm not only posting every day, I'm posting multiple videos a day, so multiple shorts a day, if not a vlog and a short. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed. You are giving me more happiness than you realize, and I am truly grateful for that. But yeah, here's a video of Taro grooming himself.